Sorry. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the August Lower Stafford Township Communications Committee meeting. Our first order of business is called to approve minutes from the July 17th, 2025 meetings. And with that, I wanted to ask if there's any questions or corrections or edits. I had just one on 4A, B, I. Yes, we said Chairman Shelley, just one key. John.
Sorry.
No worries. Other than that, everything else looks okay. Any other comments? Seeing none, do we have secondly, thank you Chris for that as well. I will say now that we could at some point elect another secretary if there was any interest in this committee, as we did have a secretary previously. So just put that out there because we said it a little bit. But all in all, thank you Chris for doing it. We appreciate you covering. Of course, that Jess has stepped down. She also did a great job too. Well done, John. Do we have a motion to approve meetings from July 17th? Motion to approve. Thank you, John. Second.
Second.
Terry, all in favor? Aye. Those minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Our next order of business is for public discussion and or visitor comments. And this is open to anybody online, anybody in person, and of course members of the committee. Now pause if anybody has any public discussion you want to mention. Moving on to old business. Our first order of business is the township presence at the Cartersville Market. I was unable to make it this time. I did communicate that. Grace, sorry, I forgot to update everybody else as well. But I wasn't able to attend this last market, but I did want to open this up to anybody who can attend. I'm curious to hear, and I did hear some comments from neighbors as well. It's a success, so if anybody would like to share.
I was there. It was great. Grace did a great job.
Very good.
Yeah, I just put it on there in case you wanted to touch on it, every now and then, but it was good to be there. I think people are warming up to the idea of seeing the township there. Not that they were opposed to it before, but maybe a little shy. So, more people are approaching. And then for the following market, we did get Lower Salford Township cups, kind of like coffee mugs. I know that wasn't a popular opinion, but it worked out for us to get them. And I probably will not be putting them on an open display. Like, maybe one or two. I'm not going to throw a whole bunch. People, like just come and take them. They were a little bit pricey, so hopefully kind of engage some people first, get them to sign up, and then offer them that. That's it.
No, I think that's cool. Yeah, it's a great trial and error to see what works and what doesn't, but it sounds like you're really good. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Any other comments? I did
somebody track attendance or some semblance of attendance on estimate?
Likely the community center would, because it's put on by then, and I've talked to Brianna, who is the coordinator in the past, and she can typically give me a rough estimate.
So I was thinking, Professor Kraus might play that as well, because that contact over here will be going through now. As we're checking that, see. I'd like to add too, I don't know if everybody here knows, but we will be October market. It's going to be a unique market, and it's going to be actually a street fair market. We're going to do. It's going to coincide with the firehouse open house, which will be on Sunday this time, as was typical Saturday. And the street will be shut down on Colt Road, as well as a little bit of schooling there as well, and up to the community. That's what I would say, which is the one that connects. And the idea is we'll have vendors in the street, and people can engage with the fire company and experience it all at once, and I think it will attract a good amount of people from outside the township as well, so that's something that should be exciting.
How many more, oh, yeah, okay. How many more signatures were collect, not signatures, signups, what this time around?
I think I had 6 people sign up for the newsletter and, I tried to get them to do all the Instagram and Facebook simultaneously. But at least that many signed up for the newsletter, which is for us kind of a good amount, you know, it's a slow growing number that's grown.
That's good, and some people too, would imagine, you know, even I, as they said, I know we're already signed up, so, you know, a lot of people. In 1 month, we might have the same people come by again, so it's hard to gauge, but to get the new people are great, it's fun. And I appreciate that.
So, they're trying to bring this back to kind of the communication committee. Topics. Is it being communicated through all the various channels? Is there something that we can do or suggest be done in terms of a survey question? I think redoing the survey has been discussed before. And so potentially, is it just a simple, question was, one of our survey questions is, have you attended one of these?
Right.
Are you aware of it or something like that? So from a survey, trying to measure how that the communication out to the broader community, possibly through survey or something like that. And then in terms of, I don't think I have the list, but we walk down through the list of all of our communication channels. Are we utilizing as many as is feasible, or as many as seem to reach the right target audience? And so, is the township leveraging all various communication channels, everything from the road signs, which I think is all on there, to the kiosks, to the emails and things like that. But we went through those communication channels. Is the township leveraging everything that it can in terms of supporting that event? So I guess the ramble on there a little bit. So I think 2 questions. One, we included in our next survey, which I don't think we really have talked about, but we included in the next survey. And 2, as a communication committee, do we try and measure it against the communication channels? And are we effectively, is the township effectively utilizing all available communication channels to reach the residents?
These are good questions, and I will let Grace touch on this too. From what I understand, the township is actively utilizing what we have, everything we have, as far as we're concerned. Our goal is okay. Like you said, maybe we discovered through a survey, you aren't getting something here, maybe you push this. And it's interesting too, because I wanted to kind of touch on this a little bit further, and I'll jump a little bit ahead, but the junior supervisor. And again, I saw that on the agenda, and I thought, oh, this is great. And as this was yesterday or this weekend, earlier today, putting things together, I thought, well, here's what I started thinking. Maybe we should go through our community, what channels do we have? Should we have something set up at the next event, which I hope to, we can discuss later, but I'm not jump to that, but at our next market, because that is the means of reaching. Sign up right there, you are right there. That's literally what I was going to say about that. But you get an idea. I think you're right. I think we're trying to as best we can in regards to it. But I also see the Arlington market as a new way of really trying to get that answer, to communicate with people, to ask them, what are you aware of, and how do we do that? We have something right there that they can chat. I don't know. I don't know if you but I see where you're getting there.
Well, the question is, for people who are not there,
Right.
Obviously, people were there, we need to know about it, but for the wider community, is that message getting out?
Yeah.
Or at least aware of it, even if you're not attending. How do you find that out? Was it via a survey or something else, but how do you kind of measure that?
So, and please correct me back and steer, I don't know what you're saying, come back, but one thing that I think you're also asking is, do we want to have something at the Harlow's Market that we could take advantage of right now? A quick, somebody comes up, and one of the questions we ask is, hey, how do you get your news? Could be the first question, we kind of take our own. Survey or something like that,
It wasn't,
okay,
but it wasn't my intention.
Right.
Because again, for people who are at the market.
yeah, we don't want to do, we appreciate some of
No,
this.
no,
Okay, that's true, oh, that's true.
But you bring up another topic in terms of, is it a place to take a walk-up survey, right? Or will people be receptive to that? The kind of things you see in the mall, somebody walks up to you and says, hey, we can answer 5 questions, right? And do that in the but that wasn't my intention. Right? My intention was.
You at the market, so.
Yes,
See that.
right. Is there something we can do or leverage as a communication committee to understand better whether the population in general knows about it?
And one thing too, just to add to that, now what you're saying makes great sense, and to kind of hop on what I said too, it is an opportunity that if people want to access the township, it's a great way to come in and ask a question, get a meeting right there, so that is where we would come in. But again, I know that people, just from talking to people when I was there, the thing that stood out to me, as I mentioned before, was that people saw on the sign. I didn't realize how effective. I mean, I see it all the time. We don't discuss it as much here. The road signs, yes, I was, we always talk about text messages, and emails, and I see the road signs, but I didn't think about how effective they really are when people say, oh, I was reminded by the sign. That's one that's actively working, so, I don't know, but that's a great point. And I think we're trying, as a township, to utilize that as much as possible. Staff does a good job of doing that. If we have more ideas. we want to-
As a doing the newsletter, yeah.
The markets?
Yeah.
Yeah, I, in the printed ones, yes, and as well. On the 15th or the first, whenever next market is, I typically try to include it, so.
And it's an additional thing to it, right? Like, well, do you send out a constant contact for that?
Yeah, so that's the bi-weekly one that I was referring to, but, I mean, I'd be interested to talk to the community center because they're really doing the publicity for it, so.
Right.
I can,
Absolutely, it's their deal, right? So it would be, can we leverage what the township needs to do in terms of, these communication channels that are always.
And I think it's worth noting too, especially in anyways watching this discussion too, that it is the community center doing this, but it's worth our investment, I feel, because we are there. That's an opportunity, obviously, we're working together. But it is the community center that us being there, it's a township.
Well, and just one case is the road signs. The community center doesn't have those road signs, so already we're leveraging a communication channel that the township has access to. Right, to help promote it, so we're already kind of doing this.
Right.
The question is, are we doing it across, or at least considering it across all of the communication channels that the township can bring to bear, not just the road signs?
Right. I think, no, I think it's great. I think one thing that we can do with this, and I'm glad you had one to this with this, maybe we should consider, especially for next month, how are we going to really promote maybe the October, we can't promote the next one September, particularly because we have reasons to encourage people to visit the firehouse, to opportunity, it's for everybody. But that could be something that we could all kind of brainstorm, on our own or whatever, bring to the table, it's fun, if you have some other ways of promoting it. But yeah, I don't know if it's, how do you find out, because if they're not there, are we reaching people already? I would say that it sounds like all of our means of communications are effectively doing so, the constant contact goes out, goes out. I know you're doing Facebook as well, to mention on social media as well, Grace, I believe. Would it be?
the market itself could be more published by the township. As a resident of Lower Southford, I feel like I've even heard of it, and more people I know have heard of it via word of mouth.
Yeah.
Which I think is great and everything, so, I mean, I don't think they're really having turnout issue. I think it's doing really, really well,
Right.
so, but,
Good.
yeah, it's
You
more.
might have to use different for parking and stuff, for example, tons of people. Coming and going, so.
I could definitely put it on our page and see what kind of engagement it gets, maybe. You know, have the market repost, and then those people see that they exist, cause truly, I feel like all the. You know, we could have more people following us, engaging with us, if people just knew the pages existed. I don't think it's a lack of interest, it's just a lack of knowledge, you know?
And that's a great point by putting up something like people share theirs, how would we that to you? Just mentioning, did you know? Public office, you have a question, can't call them in the office or just want to come by and see what's about. We'll be here or something like that. Yeah, it's pretty fun. But I think that other than that, it seems like all the other means of communications we utilize, including bird signs. Any other comments, questions regarding the Arlesville market?
Yeah, we come up while we were talking, at least on Facebook, they have there's 1,700 dollars. So I don't know what the intersection of that on the Venn diagram looks like between what the township has and what the community center has. But see both,
Yeah,
find out who crosses over from one to the other, might not be awareness of the community center, might not be awareness of township activities, and perfect.
yeah, no, that's a great point. So yeah, we can definitely share. I know when I'm there next time, we'll casually mention and then that's a share or post about it. But yeah, I mean, it's a win-win. The community center benefits from the township's. We're getting an opportunity. So it would be. So.
The other thing is. To try and tie the channels together, now that we have merchandise, we clearly brainstorming here, but doing something like putting in the newsletter, bring this article to the fair, or for a free month, or we're drawing for free month, or something, but we're trying to kind of tie the one into an action from another.
All right, we officially begin. Harry, we were just talking about critical rates that you've heard coming, well, you had so we really appreciate that. We're just finishing up our first order of business, but we had some great discussions on the Arlesville market. So we went over Grace was there, it's rundown, but John brought up some good points.
Watching too.
Yeah. He'll load it down for it too, but the Arlesville market, just having more, what we can do with that. We're just machine. Well. Any other comments or questions about the Arlesville market? Seeing none, we'll move on to our next order, which is the draft recommendation on the township process, residential facilities, request maps and other information. We had a pretty good conversation about this. I had to, and as John said, I had to watch YouTube. I did watch YouTube, which is a little messy audio, but I did listen to the meeting a few times, and we did discuss this, and we're going to continue this next time. But before we do, I want to try to serve Grace as well. We do have, last time we discussed. Last time, some of the big things we discussed was the quantity of items. Well, we can do a quantity of the items that they have. We want to get these out to people. Could we go live? Harry, you mentioned at one point that there's a similar situation with forms, how we get these out there. We talked about the idea that anyone can order. Some of the concerns were from the township standpoint, not everyone can expect the township to deliver them, but you could have pickups. Yeah, we can get them out here. It doesn't need to be perfect, as was said. And the other thing is to know, pretty much, and I like the comment that you said as well, it stood out from the senior centers, they really don't know what they are able to request as well. So they want to know what they can request, how many they can request. And what we had come up with in discussions were the idea of having just a printable material, something that somebody could take, click, and we can get it to them in regards to residential facilities, library, senior center, but definitely open it up to anybody, pick it up at the township office as well. Grace, do you have any updates on this? I see you not here as well, so if you want updates on this, and then we can go from there.
Yeah.
Have some more as well, so please. Thank
I
you.
didn't make too many changes, I looked at what I could do. Just in this first part, I added what organization or business you represent, because it was just one or the other, and I'm still going through what other materials that I need to request in advance from the county. Because, you know, we have a certain amount here, but I would hate to run into a jam or someone wants something that we don't have. So I'll just make a quick note to remind myself about that, but otherwise, the link is ready to go live, so. The next order of business could be either myself or you guys reaching out to your designated organizations, businesses, living centers. To just get them this link and, you know, I think it'll be pretty easy to get this rolling.
That's fantastic, I did. And I know we could discuss on that, you know, ideas of that, we had previously ways that we discussed some rough drafts to get out there, you know, that we could get out to people, so I kind of took that. And just wrote down something quick, please, you can pass on down, these are just subject to open interpretation. Just in case, we're at this point, but, something, you know, it says, to whom it may concern, we're pleased to announce the valuable resource for the residents of your facility. The Lower South Township Communications Committee is committed to ensuring all residents have access to essential materials, maps, permits, forms, particularly for those who may not be able to visit the township building. And we asked them to facilitate this process, we asked you to complete our printable materials request form on behalf of your residents. And we call that whatever we want. Here's how you can help. Download the form using the link below. Fill out the form with your name, email address. What I did is just put on exactly what we have on the form right here. Indicate whether you would like to pick up these materials or have them delivered. And my question to you is, I mentioned last time, I don't mind stopping in there as well. In fact, I was going to do this month, and I thought, well, let's wait till we have this officially, that's why I encouraged me to put it together. But I wanted to bring it to the committee first to see if we should just go bring this to the residential facilities. That's, you know, I'll make sure if nobody's there, I won't leave it, 'cause we've done that in the past, we don't know if they get it, and I can go back another time. Or even call, try to set up, or that's something I really wouldn't mind doing. Or if anybody else wants to as well, you're more than welcome to join me and do so too. And this is just for rough ideas, I think, because I know we want to get that out there, have that available. But any comments on this, and please, any other comments on the forum or ideas of how we proceed with this, I'm going to open up to everybody right now. That's great. This I did really rough, as I'm looking at it. I don't know if we really have to say download the form or just click the form. Use the operating, it would be a great step.
I can get this on letterhead, that would be helpful.
Yeah, we could definitely move it to that, I can send it just text, it's easier. As well, and it's just, this was just a wrong one, but my idea is to have a link, and we mentioned a QR code too, since this would be paper.
Yeah.
We don't really have set email, I do have some emails, for some of the facilities, I think. Village Square, Montgomery Woods. Have been pretty consistent with emails, Arbor Square and Birches. Don't have a definitive email, but I usually display like that.
Should we say something like for number 4? Have them personally delivered, because I don't think they think that we're gonna mail them.
That's a good point, and it might encourage them to say, well, I don't imagine they will pick them up if they have, if those opportunities, but it might encourage them.
Yeah,
Have them personally deliver as well.
so make them work for having a person delivered, like. Give me a time, a date that's convenient for you. Time range from 8. If you're gonna deliver some, they're not gonna be there, then that, you know.
That's a good point. Personal delivery fine.
And please note. And give me the time. Date, the day, convenient times and nights. Like a plural. You know,
You're right, because really, I guess I was kind of leaving it open, so, oh, now let's call you, try to, and then you just go back and forth
Right.
again, that's not good. Very good point.
Um. I look at something like this. Maybe I'll use that. Just brainstorming this thing, this is the first time. Generally speaking, I would get rid of everything in the top.
Yeah.
You know, all that nice stuff, and you know, it's words that people either labor to read through, not read through it at all, don't care about it, and it's like, we don't need to do it. Right?
No, you're absolutely right.
And I would either, you know, depending on how this is going out, either totally separate, you know, the verbiage at the top from the instructions. Or just get rid of it, so that what you're handing them is, you know, something that very clearly says, you know. You need material from the township or Lower Southern Township communication request. And then your instructions. And then maybe
I was saying.
yeah.
It sounds like you're your
Or,
market.
you know, I was thinking, you know, a small image of the form, you know, as a reference, right? So they can see what they're gonna be downloading and getting. Right? And even forget the thank you one.
Yeah, I think that,
Not necessary.
yeah. I think you're absolutely right, and did it well. Honestly, too, when I put this together, like the subject up there, I think I was thinking email and then to bring it to us, and well, and I'll have to deliver, we'll see if we can have a talk about this, so please, this was just a. I like John's idea. Anybody else out there is going about it. You're right, people will get lost in there, it's confusing, but if I'm physically handing them something, and that's what I figured anyway, I'd be like emphasizing, here's what we gotta do. But this way, they have a bigger QR code, they have a bigger thing of what they're seeing, they can put this where they want to put this, I like that idea. Everybody in agreement with that? I see a lot of nods.
Yes, I like all of those ideas.
I have one point that I think I brought up before, not related to this, but the issue of a dead link or what would happen once. This initiative would be retired or replaced with something better. Are these letters or emails that go out still to go to someplace in the township that relates to forms? So I know right now this is a Google form. I would recommend against giving people a direct link to a Google form and more of here's a bespoke page on the township site. And it doesn't have to be concurrent with the forms, with the list of forms available. It can just be, this is the initiative, this is the link to the form. And if that form were to ever go away or be replaced by something else, you've constantly been directing people to Lower South or Township.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes
That
sense.
idea a lot.
I do too, and I know we talked about something in the past similar to this, which we're wrestling this.
You resident guy.
Right, we have Boy Scout and all that, that's. Grace, you follow that as well,
Yes,
okay with that?
yes.
And then, that would be the QR code. So, and I like what John said, and, you know, everybody else's comment, I didn't bring it up again, but I like it, you know, just having something like this. Because you're right, they don't know what they're clicking, no, I don't know, it's just kind of, oh, okay, I can do that, you know, or if you got symbols, you see that.
Or you give somebody this and you fill it out in very tiny text on it. And for one way or another, you fulfilled that.
We did
That
fulfill the
need.
need, absolutely, just be, might sell and some of the extra stuff. No, that's great, and so I would like to see that as, QR code is larger as well, 'cause really the link won't serve much purpose on, and I know I wrote that there, as I said, I was kind of keeping it open. Email, I'm gonna do it, but the link's not gonna work on this paper, so. QR code. serve that. Although, now that I say that, we talk about not everybody's familiar with QR codes, somebody might want to print out for it, so it might be worthwhile to have those. So. Good.
So. Bullet number 2. Not sure whether you need to. Say your name, email address, whatever it is on. And is it enough to say fill out the form? And instead of just listing the fields there, you know, is there anything that you want to highlight like is mandatory? I would put on here things other than pushing, right? And I think people get that, the name, email address, and organization are lines on the form. You say fill out the form, we'll get that.
You said it's too much to read.
But if you have to say something like, you know, these fields are mandatory or, when you reflect not be honored without these fields or something like that, that's different.
So, and you, so just clarify, you're saying just say fill out the form, which is in bold.
Yes, right.
I don't see a problem with that. It's,
What if we use complete the form instead of?
Yeah.
That's even better, very cool.
Question I have,
Please.
for bullet 4, where we're talking about pick up the materials or have them delivered on the form. Pick up, at least on the one I'm looking at, pick up is the only option.
You're right, he did say one was supposed to pick up, and that's, that was part of that, I think, conversation that we had in the end of our, who we open this up to. And that's a good point, so I guess the question, and please, I like your question, your point here, but with the question here, are we just going to give this to facilities ASAP and see how it works, or do we want to put this on our website as discussed? But maybe say for facilities, we could say for facilities, we will deliver, or I don't know, maybe we put it on, it now gets complicated, we don't want to get it too complicated, but you're right, though, that was kind
I
of.
said
the
not
problem.
to, just saying, I don't want anyone to go and get confused where it
Right.
says delivered, and then they get to the form, it says, when are you gonna pick it up?
Very good, and so I think though, that we want to make sure that we can deliver to the facility. You know, I think part of the thing that we talked about is, if they say, oh, we can't come out and get it, then all those residents would. You know, it's not something that their staff is being required to do, so I mean, they might not want to do that, so I think for those places. We should deliver them, maybe we could have a volunteer by, or we might say, well, I'll pick it up, downstream for it, something like that, but. If we only hand this paper to those facilities, I say. Perhaps. Yeah, anybody else? Does that make sense to you, that, Eric? Well,
Yeah, that does make sense.
but. That you do bring up a good point. Maybe we should, I don't know how we would word that to indicate this is only for these facilities or not. If we want.
Trying to figure out a little more.
Or we wait a month to go live and see how it works, I think, with residential facilities, and worry about that. That'll.
Incremental progress.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, and then if we have success with this, obviously, okay, or we could say, we could talk about the idea of to everybody, because that is, I think, what we said, someone realizes, hey, I got 5 of these, it's like pre-ordering your supplies. Good point, though, I mean, that's something that we should know in the future, I think we're liable. Anything else to add to this or take away from this, again, just laying down some things that we pretty much already discussed for that.
Again, this is me, but you know, I start looking at words that are not necessarily make this as easy as possible. I don't see a reason to have leaves on line 3 when we didn't say please on the other.
Sure.
I was trying, please. Start with materials. Illustrate. Potentially everything we found additional on. First of all, I felt like the additional doesn't make sense that. But if it means select which materials you need. Make them either there or. select which materials you need and quantities required. Trying to get rid of the note.
Then back to what you said too, one thing I noticed, I don't want too much, it does have an asterisk on the website when they do the form, so they don't know what is required. So if I'm filling out a form for anything, I'm like, oh, obviously I need to do this, sometimes I get ahead of it, so that might be too. But I agree with you, select which materials you need, which we need. Anything else? Go down to school, but
I mean, really, that center section is essentially access the link. Complete the form, and select which materials you need and like you would like. That's pretty much what we're asking.
And you make a good point, because we still download forms and like, well, so rather than that, just say access to like. Below. So what we have.
You know. An image of the form, the image full. And they say pictures worth 1,000 words, and you know, but. You have a lot, they're just having some use to the link QR code.
Thanks, perfect, simplicity is best. And everybody kind of see this, but in all kind of an agreement, crossing off the whole top. We say access the link below, 2. Complete the form, 3. Select which materials you need. And then we can indicate whether you would like to pick up these materials or have them personally delivered at a convenient time. Okay. And then we do have a thank you, I will keep the thank you on there, or thank you for your cooperation in helping us better serve the residents of our township. Let's keep my thumbs up.
I like it.
All right, we keep that, and we do put up the link just in case people do want to type that out, as well as. And yeah, my parents will definitely type that out. The so long as it. And we'll put the QR code too. Very good.
And is this called the Lower Salford Township Materials Request Form? Or does it have to be something more unique than that?
I have request form for principal materials.
Yeah, I was just about to mention the printable materials request. So I like that. Right, just what it's got here already. Printable materials.
Materials plus.
This becomes the Lower Salford Township Principal Materials Request Form.
Is that okay with everybody? Any other, I have no other suggestions. So
No,
because
I like it.
Yeah, it's something you can see.
Just for, so,
But you're right, for our reference, it's good to have, and that's been, the print here was just. Well, I work across that on anything, but that was just copy, and that's it. Okay. Anything else to add or to this? It's a very good conversation. Grace, thank you for your work with that. I think this would be very helpful, and. You know, it definitely, as we apply this in the future, we'll see how it goes, we'll continue to get off, curious. Very good. All right, our next business, we kind of touched about a little bit on a new business, which is the junior supervisor program. I did get a copy of what this was to everybody, and we talked about it a little bit as well, but. I received an inquiry from a high school student who resides in our township. They're asking why we don't have junior members similar to some of the Southeastern boroughs and other local boroughs. So it led me to researching the idea of junior supervisor program, which I did not know existed under a second class township, but there are, throughout the Commonwealth, there are a few junior township supervisory programs. This one I kind of took, I liked what this one had, this one, they just had their guideline for their program here, so we kind of took this, I brought it to my colleagues, I brought it to the board. Everybody was all for this, absolutely for this, we're excited to have, input from younger residents, kind of perspective, if someone grew up here, I would love to have a voice in the township as well. So it is something that's there's a lot of high schoolers involved in, local politics, they do discuss, there are liaisons for, I know Sourdough Borough, I did have a conversation with one of the students who reached out to me, said that they report back to the students, and sometimes the people say, oh, I live in Sourdough, and even people outside of Sourdough give ideas to bring back. So you have it in front of you, and hopefully everybody can see this, where we come in, though, is how do we get this out here? Harry, we kind of touched this a little bit with the Harleysville market. One idea that I thought is, for our take in this is maybe we can get something, one of the easiest ways is to get something out of the market for this upcoming market. The cutoff for this, I should highlight that, on our website, this doesn't have it, but our website, we do have information on how to apply. It's laid out here, but what people can do is complete, at least by, I don't see it here, but is it by September, mid-September 19th or something? Yes, September.
If I may add, I have taken steps, I've reached out to Amy Tarlow, who's like the guidance counselor at the high school, and some of the admin there, so they're gonna make sure an email gets to all the juniors and seniors about this program. I just wanna make sure that I reach out to those who might be homeschooled in the area or go to private schools.
And that's where we can come in, I think, I'm glad you mentioned that, so. Very good on reaching that, well, I don't know if there's any, and sorry to get off topic, it's not really, but are there any organizations that the township's aware of where? I know that homeschool, the high school, after the high school would have to know all the homeschool people, because I did homeschool my children for a year during the pandemic, and, you work through the high school, so if there's somebody that we should there, I may even know contact, and they can let all their homeschool families know.
Email contact, that would be great, because when I
Too,
reached out, they said they didn't have contact. So I was,
We-
but
we have liaison, and I can't remember, but I have two different people it might be, but I can definitely let them know, I can make a note of that. Can't guarantee that they would be able to do that, that's one way to do that.
yeah,
However, back to what I was gonna say, how do we reach private schools? One thing that I was starting to say, and again, I opened this up before, one thing that we do right away is have something in our market. And Grace, you can pop this by you too, I was thinking just QR code, real big, are you high school seniors attention? Or high school students attention, something like that, and then the QR code, and then literally just have these, maybe just have the program, what it is, and kind of look at it there, top form there. And QR code could take them right to the link that we have up on the township page, which looks good. So on the form there. That's my take on that. I think it's a great program, again, where we come in. Any other ways that we can get this out, I don't wanna say suggestions that I know have already happened, so I know on your end, you've already sent that out. And you do that on all our, so communication too, correct?
Another thing to consider, I think it would be. It would kind of getting access to some of the private school kids, at least the ones that are parochial school. And also probably Catholic private would be trying to get an announcement in the church bulletin for either Corpus Christi or St. Mary's.
And you're ready,
Ready.
because that would, they go back under.
Well, they go
So,
to my day, but there might be some lower south residents there.
Definitely.
So those are the three. The three that I'm trying to get the announcements in. I'm trying to remember if I can get the gentleman's name, feels like that.
That's great.
Parish, if I can find that name, I'll track that name down for you.
I went to a Catholic school, grade school, we would get, anything that was local sports or stuff like that, we would see on the bulletin, it's great. Is that something that we could just send the same thing to maybe reach out to just, the secretary of each parish and say, we are doing this, if you want to. Whatever.
I know the secretary one, so that's an easy one to relay to you. So, the others, I could probably track down.
Very good. I think too, we could do, Doc Elementary, Doc High School, with Christopher Doc, this we send that to as well. And I know we excluding things by not thinking, I'm just thinking of the most popular ones that we know, if they're most, where we have a lot of. But if there is anything else that I think of, or you guys think of, it's fine, I'll still let them too. But I think they're worth noting, because there are a big you know, a large amount of people in the township. Great. Anything else? Any other ideas of how we can continue to get this out? Or any other comments on the junior supervisor program or ways that the communication committee can help with this as well?
I'd love to have one of those applicants on communication.
They'll be, yeah, they'll be welcome, right? So,
I think that's, you said something about being really reflective, so it would be like, that's one to have. You're just out of the emerging civic voice category, I know, right? So, for to have somebody like speaking from that position, because I don't even know when we talk about this, we would probably be marketing these sort of things to the parents or to the kid themselves. Is it a self-starter kid that you're presenting this to say, hey, look at this potential resume line, this real world experience, or you marketing to the parent to, kid and go, this would be a good experience for you, I'm gonna help you do it. And maybe it's a combination of the two, but again, we don't have anybody of that age to sit here at this table and say those things and give us good advice, so that's gonna be a good thing when it happens.
Well, no, it's a good to add to that, that is perfect, with one of the conversations that I was having. I said, oh, what kind of things do you have? Actually attended a middle school. And, they're saying, what kind of things do you have that the people bring to attention to the governments and all prior to initiating this? One of the comments was that a lot of times that, this is in some of the cases, they say to the parents, you gotta go vote, they don't want that, that's kind of their joke, oh, we know more than our parents, but the kids are saying. Yeah, they don't vote like it. Yeah, they do feel it, but they're saying that, but politically, they say anything, they'll ask questions, and I politically, I mean, like what's happening in the township, literally, like what kind of things are happening, what kind of events are happening, they do ask the children, so. Who knows, but that's something that I can't answer, great point. Hopefully, any prospective aspiring junior township supervisors will attend all meetings, some very. Any other comments on that? I think it's a great program. If we have anything else like that, if you please bring it up, everybody updated with that. Our next order of business, Mr. Carlson, you recently reached out with some information here, communication, website, training, research, and updates. I would say I did take a look at some of these as well. I read your comments too, gentlemen, and I agree with that too, but I want to turn that over to you and we're done to this too, so. All right.
So I'll give the top line of everything and we can take it on anything that anybody's interested in. One of the first things was FormFest 2025, which is an online government oriented conference for improving forms and soliciting information from folks. Just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention and get an opportunity perhaps for the township employees to take a look at it.
I have registered.
Yeah, registered. Fantastic. So, yeah, I'm looking at the comments on this email. Grace is taking a lot of the wind out. I see also already getting these things done. So, which is great. I love it. CGov is the second one. This is an initiative. It's a government and media collaboration to use an AI tool specifically to that to watch township meetings and committee meetings and extract out things that are topical related to the agenda, specific posts that you could turn into something similar to a YouTube reel or a Facebook, one of the short movies or a TikTok, something that is going to distill down an hour of time into 15 to 20 seconds. And that leaves the control in the hands of the person who's creating that piece of media, so they can exclude things, they can say things are missing. But I think it would be a low effort, potentially a low effort way to get people to engage with the brief, essentially the clips of the movie with a link to YouTube.
Right.
And I see a note, are in your notes?
Yeah.
So Grace's notes are, there's many meetings have 10 to 20 views on YouTube. Right? Can you direct people to that, having seen some snippet that catches their interest, and now they go in for the longer feature, perhaps to get some more information that they would have had otherwise.
if this would kick it off, I wanna break each one down, actually not, well, because I don't want to. So, first one, I agree with Grace, very good, good sign for that as well. My only comments for the first one real quick is that I thought it was a great opportunity, in short, we do have other educational things like PSATs, this is something different in regards to form. That I think is worthwhile, and educate and take advantage if anybody has the time to do that. As well, so it was great here. The second one, though, we'll talk about this if anybody has any comments. This, I was very intrigued by this. Curious, and I literally curious to hear conversation once discussed. The only other thing, question I had is if it's applicable, if it's easily applicable to previously recorded meetings, let's say you did. Or like it doesn't matter when you do that, does it have to be something recent or just do it for? How hard would it be to go back and summarize multiple meetings? And then the other thing I noticed about that too is. I noticed that, especially with the article you sent, that it's being used by media as well. There are a lot of countries that you know that are using it, medias or. I love the idea. It's
Yes,
fascinating.
I'm not aware of. Right now,
Right.
what I know they had mentioned a couple of things specifically to that, so this is at once a product that's. Together, but also a concept of, is it a thing that would increase need generally, like. You know, these AI things are not going to get less advanced going into 2026, it's gonna be easier to do this stuff and just say, hey, take some clips out of this and. Whatever thing it is, but I wanted to just bring this out as an initiative potential.
John, you mentioned that you do something similar with your workplace. Is that, I don't remember. It's
Scarily easy. It's. It does a better job of making people mind how to do.
scary. As somebody who works in the entertainment industry, I'm scared, I'm not a fan of that, but I'm intrigued when it's used for tools like this, but. No, yeah, any other comments on something like this, well, then we'll keep them through, yeah, you know, whatever, but I
And
just.
so the point here in terms of how this built, it's important. I don't publish the things directly. I mean, I still go through and. If anything, what I find is it tends to be very wordy, so I end up getting rid of a bunch of stuff, but. It's more me deleting stuff because it's not important. And then correcting stuff. So there is an aspect of, you can't just take it and publish it, and somebody still has to look at it.
Check. Somebody who, so somebody who probably attended. So,
Right. Or even if they don't attend, at least somebody who can grasp what's important and what's just the tool, just adding words to it.
and by
The
important
tools are amazing. I know some, my wife's in position, some of the clinicians that are using these tools and the ability of the AI to pick out incredibly salient features of a conversation is pretty astounding. So, certainly, a proponent for using it if we can find ways to use it. We don't know, as you run a meeting through a clip like, through a software or application like this, we don't know what it will pull out. And we, you know, some of that might end up getting to be useful for engagement. And so certainly would be a proponent of, using it.
Yeah,
And I think you used the word that I was gonna bring up, which is I don't think it's so much important as engaging, right? Because it's a tool to show people that there are interesting things happening over the course of what can be a long and deliberative process. But there are important things happening that you can pull out, you can put it as part of a video clip that gives you 2 or 3 things. And then put that out, and see what you catch.
this is essentially great teaser,
Either meeting.
Yes, and my only hesitance is the obvious one, so I'm, like, as I'm sure you talk about this now, obviously, I have to make sure things the catches are accurate, you know, stuff like that, that's what you're kind of answering.
Not
So,
out of context.
exactly, not out of context, you don't want it to be, you know, you want it to be factual as to this, what happened. Not sway any kind of. Sorry.
Well, it's out of context, I can see the whole thing.
But again, like as you say, very much to the point where it recognizes that idea as well. So that's fascinating. To the job.
The next item I had was a proposal for adding, some sort of graphical map to things like ion development. And so I think I shared something with the group earlier, essentially a map of the township with pins and dots to represent those things. And I know that these things are available because John, you pointed it out, Montgomery County has a copy of all of those things, but as soon as you show up on that map, the Montgomery County map is almost entirely red, and as you zoom into Lower Southford, there's, everything that's ever been put up as a zoning concern is present on that map. I don't care about all those things, right? I care about the things that are actively flowing through the system in a way that I can look at the map, find my neighborhood and go, hey, what's generally around? So that's kind of where I wanted to make a suggestion that, if people are gonna get engaged with some of these planning things, they're gonna look within a radius of their own homes and the areas where they are to say, well, what is going on? You can't really extract that as somebody coming along from a list of just addresses, right? Something might not even have a real house number or address to it. It's just something, it's just a thought that's gonna become an address.
Right.
So, my suggestion there, and this can go into whatever deliberation and process was, just whenever development plans are mentioned, that there is something attached, designed and whatever, to have as simple and straightforward as possible, like this is where things are happening, these are the things that are being contacted.
I think that's great. I love Grace's comments on this one as well, because that was something that I kind of wrote down. My notes is if we are capable of doing something like that. And the comments are, we could easily do that on another program, good idea, so, good. That's great, I think it offers residents, as you said, I think it definitely took me probably 4 or 5 years to comfortably think. Every 100 block off the top of my head of whatever road, yeah, that's over on this one, that's closer to here. And that's helpful, and then even now.
2 years, there's a few hundred blocks to.
Exactly. Okay,
And this is the one where, Grace took most of the way down my sales here. So I noticed when going to the website, you would see, the pop-up to subscribe to the list every time, and if you show up once every 3 days like I do, you're like, I'm there, I've performed this action, I've done the thing. It doesn't sound like there's an easy way to update that.
Up to the. I'm on our website guy, the web developer, but when I go into the settings, there's only an option to show or not show, so I know there's normally a cache cookies kind of thing going on, but we just can find that here.
And then just some small things that I had noticed over the course of the month. The solicitor list, which Grace says is updated by the police department. I think that was about a year old at that point. The Gulf Road Park summary says traffic stop and no traffic stop, even the same paragraph. So I noticed that, and I was not aware, and I'll be honest with everybody here. I did not think our police department was as big as it was because of the picture on the website. There were 5 or 6 officers on the page, and I was like, well, they do a lot. Those guys do a lot.
it's this bad.
And obviously, gradually the realization dawned on me, that's not the case, but I think, there should be, if there are 20 members of the department, there should be some representation that's not, 5 police officers in the picture, so I appreciate seeing that, and then.
The one that photo.
They fit they're all in front of the command center, van. And then, the meeting schedule often, and this was confusing for me early on, and I think it's confusing for people because there are 2 supervisor meetings in very close proximity to each other.
Mhm.
Only one shows in the upcoming meetings. Right, so when you go there, if you don't realize that there's a work session followed by the meeting, you only see the work session. It's not prominent to you that there is another evening meeting to follow the next day off. And it doesn't sound like, Grace, if you wanted to talk about that, I don't wanna consider your thunder from that, but it sounds like that's more complicated.
It would just, I mean, now getting to the end of the year, it would probably be not as. It's not complicated, it was just time consuming, and have noticed it and someone has said it to me, and I'm like, I need to do this, but I would just have to go and, delete what's already there and just kind of rebuild it in two different sections, which again, not hard to do. It's complicated, it's the wrong word, so, but you know. Now there's only so many meetings left of the year.
Right, and this is a suggestion from me, so.
Well, it's been a suggestion from the township manager, so it's not just you know.
Anything on any of those items?
No, I think it's great, and I encourage anybody, again. We have wonderful staff, we're all, as far as I see, always willing to make adjustments, one of my others, picture, very good. So if anybody ever has suggestions, please feel free to bring them on. They are, and I will say, the record, you know, great. It's hard, so. They're very.
Then, I'm the only person keeping us from our families and homes, so. Two more items added to, the persona guide. He was out at the last meeting, I'll talk a little about them, those confirmed suggestions that we had had for the emergent civic voice. Which we defined as, you know, everybody got one?
I have a copy from before I had my keyboard.
Okay. The backside of the new copy was the
Did you give a copy today?
last photo, so I had one.
Yeah. I'll give that. That was good.
And more information. Eight of it.
Is this the updated one or?
Two grids of four on each side of the page. And so the new ones are the emerging civic voice that Grace recommended and the short-term renter. Specifically, so I'll talk a little about that. I think the junior supervisor candidate and the emerging civic voice are a big intersection of each other. You know, as AI came up with a very tech savvy TikTok, Reels, Discord, school Chromebooks, YouTube Shorts, engage with QR codes and engagement varies with the schedule of when they are actually here in the township for those going to college, for the younger ones, basically year round, more emphasis on school and interested in resume building with respect to engage with the township. And then for the short-term renter, we've got some attributes of medium tech savvy, mostly interested in renter specific things, local voter registration, vehicle registration in certain cases. You know, pays individual taxes, but not property taxes, so that's, you know, a unique characteristic of somebody who's a renter specifically and a short-term renter individually. So take a look at that, keep these in mind, I hope, as we talk about these different groups and we try to engage with the emerging civic voice junior supervisors. We'll keep a look at that, we'll go over it.
Great work, Rob. Any comments, questions? Wow. I will say, what I like about these two, when I was looking through it again, prior starts meeting this. It gives me an idea, just if anything, it reminds us that not just reaching a few demographics, you know, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's right, we gotta think about, you know, let's not forget emerging civic voice, let's grab one and not forget. Community town balance, you know, that it's very helpful that, or keep reminding what you have to do, whether we use one method or multiple.
Very good. The longer I'm here, the more I'm gonna forget what it's like to be a new town. Right, and so
That's why it's
we'll keep that like this very important.
And I just, as you're talking about the, you know, the emerging civic voice, I was just thinking, well, you know, my friends and I knew we were every little bump in this, you know, sidewalk, or whatever that bothered us the most part, and that stuff that I wouldn't know at this point, you know, my current capacity, I forget that stuff, I don't run that way. That's great. Any other comments or things to add to all of this? I'm going to continue to digest this and take our comments with that AI and we'll continue to look that up. Wonderful opportunity there. I do want to add, so I think that as we round it up here, that's all okay, Curtis. I wanted to go, we don't have anything else on here, but it was mentioned and we did kind of tease about, But, Bob, I'll say, you did mention, you have some interest in possibly becoming the secretary. Is that,
I'm happy to serve as secretary. For the local board.
that's wonderful, we can make a motion, I'm going to like to make a motion, and one thing I want to say is that we did have a secretary, I've got John. Jessica stepped down, so temporarily Grace, shoes. We appreciate that, it's very much. But it is great to hear that, and that was something I wanted to bring up eventually anyway, so. That said, we had a motion to, or we wanna, do I have a motion to elect Rob Carlson as our. As our secretary for the remainder of the year?
I will make the motion.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, Rob, thank you very much, we appreciate that, and Grace, thank you again for filling that in, that's a great, it's great, we'll have, we really appreciate it. That's it, we have, anything else we'd like to add for, tonight, and we covered a lot, I really appreciate all the insights that we had, and, yeah, okay, it was a good, meeting. Thank you for that, I'm really excited, I will let everybody know that as soon as Grace, we have this ready, I'll be happy to get that out. This point.
Want me to work on that as like a flyer?
If, I can give you this, if you wanna see this, but yeah, if you could put it possibly on a letterhead, do that, I can even just send you the text, and we cut a lot of it out, that's pretty much what I'm pretty sure that same. So. And then the only other thing I would like to add prior to our next month's meeting, if it's possible too, I'd be happy to. Make sure we have the QR code stuff set up for the junior supervisor, interest at the next month.
I have that in big letters.
Okay. That's all I have for that, and I encourage everybody
Having
here.
it, please, we're going to handle that. I'd like to,
That would be great, we'll set that,
okay, flexibility on my schedule, like as long as I. Go ahead, I'm off the time. But that'd be interesting to. Yeah, I'll see some of these organizations that we're always talking about.
And as I said too, then we'll go at this too, figure it out, but if nobody is there too. I'm not gonna, I'll go back in, because I know we've brought them before, there's only two of that nobody is there, so. So, the other ones have somebody, usually the desk. Any other questions or anything to add? Great meeting, everybody. Okay, with that, next meeting will be September, mid-September. I don't have off the top of my head, but earlier, I was looking at the calendar, so 17th is that week. All right, so our next meeting will be the 17th, and I think it's worthwhile, we should probably just double check what we should put on the agenda. I think it's worthwhile to kind of go over this, we'll recollect how we did with our forums going out, see if we had any hits on that. Back to that, and any updates on Rob's information as well. Anybody has anything else to add, so. In between that time, is everybody okay with that? I see the heads as well. All right, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Motion, Aaron, second. Second, Rob, all in favor? Aye. Thank you very much, everybody. Grace, thank you.
Okay.